Okay, I think we have waited sufficiently. I'd like to welcome you all to the InVhestia Financial Modeling Competition webinar series. Thank you all for joining us. This is the second of the series. We launched last week with Stephen Gugu as our speaker. And today we're hosting someone from Kampala, Uganda. And so we're very excited about that. To begin, I will let you know a little bit about InVhestia in case this is the first time you're interacting with us. InVhestia is a financial modeling, is a financial advisory firm. We work in corporate finance as well as project finance. Our assignments range across M&A, negotiations, due diligence assignments. We also carry out capital raising for entrepreneurs and for projects. We also do financial modeling training, and this competition is one of the initiatives that was born out of the financial modeling training. So I will share with you why we began the competition. The competition has been in existence for 4 years already. So this is our 5th year running, and we're very excited about it. We typically would only train in Nairobi, at least that's physically, and go into the universities and have training sessions with the students. However, we also have an online platform that has allowed us to reach many other university students. So the 12 universities that we have listed here are the people that we have trained in class, but we have over 2,000 students trained. Last year, we actually had a few students from Mombasa join the competition, even though we were not able to go to their campus to train. So it is something that we're very excited about. It's what we feel is necessary to develop the pool of talent in the finance space. And so we're excited this year to be launching it once again. And the benefit with the COVID-19 predicament that we're in is that since we're purely online, it means that we can reach Africa-wide. And so we're encouraging students from every country to join. You would just need to go onto our online platform and do the free course that we have on there, join in these sessions and participate in the case study. Over the years, we've had several partners who you will see here. The EAVCA, which is based in Nairobi, but covers the whole of East Africa. Consonance Investment Managers, who are based in Lagos. And incidentally, we have the managing partner of Consonance Investment Managers joining us for the webinar series next week. So please make sure to save the date and put it in your calendar. Open Oil, which is based in Germany, and Aspen Network of Development Entrepreneurs, who helped us in previous years, especially with skills transfer. This is, of course, separate from the financial modeling training because we're also keen on having people ready to enter the job space. And that is what Duma and Edge Recruiting have also assisted us with. In 2020, we're excited to have 3 sponsors so far. The Fast Standard organization being the first. For those of you who registered, you are aware that the methodology we use is the Fast Standard, which is an internationally recognized one. And so they are happy to be on board to be spreading the word about the importance of standardization in financial modeling. We also have F1, F9, which is also a financial modeling advisory firm. And once again, we are glad to be partnering with EAVCA. Now, I'll just show you a few of the universities that we have been in. We were really excited to be in Osho College for the first time last year. And we're hoping that there will be many more participants. As I have mentioned, we're Africa-wide this year. And these are some of the students that we've trained over the years. And so please do participate and spread the word. Now, With that brief introduction, I would like to bring on our speaker for the fireside chat. Now, our speaker is Ivan Mandela. Ivan, please go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and about Shona.
Yeah, first of all, thank you, InVhestia team, for having me. Really glad to be here. So my name is Ivan Mandela. I'm the Director of Investment at Shona, based out of Kampala, Uganda. Shona is a business development and advisory firm focused on SMEs, particularly in Kenya and Uganda. It's our belief that SMEs are key to transforming East Africa's economies. They are the biggest employers, but those SMEs need capital, they need technical assistance, they need peer networks, and they generally need an enabling environment for them to grow and create more jobs and more opportunities within our economies. So that's the gap we are filling by providing hands-on mentorship and advisory and connecting them with the resources that they need to grow from one step to the other. So we've been in existence for 8 years now. We worked with over 100 SMEs, both in training and one-on-one engagements. And we hope those SMEs raised over $15 million of capital since then. With I think our biggest success story that we started with in Uganda here has expanded to over 5 countries in a span of about 7 years. So yeah, I'm really glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Please tell us, I know you recently had a rebranding.
Yeah.
Maybe there's some people who may know you as a different name. Please
talk
about that.
Yeah, thanks for the reminder. Yeah, so we were previously known as Unreasonable East Africa. Unreasonable is an international brand based out of the US, doing similar work to what we are doing. So we recently rebranded to, again, as part of our evolution, to be more and more African and more, and have a very, an identity that is relatable to African entrepreneurs, which is primarily our focus. Our focus is now indigenous entrepreneurs. So that informed our rebranding.
Okay, excellent. So why is financial modeling important in the work that you do?
Yeah, so very important to know that I was trained by InVhestia about 5 years ago in financial modeling. And that's obviously, I think it's from that training that, financial modeling then took a very pivotal role in the work we do. So we did, 5 years ago, we had a team of about 3 analysts, still with the help of InVhestia. And that's the team I lead at Shona. So, we look at financial modeling as, or financial models as very important tools, right? Because they help us break down the business in simple numbers in one Excel sheet, right? So we are able to look at the business model, look at the unit economics, look at the viability of the business on a financial perspective. Because at the end of the day, business is essentially about money. Even if you're not there for money, you need viability. At the end of the day, comes back to the financial aspects of the business. So for us, before we engage, whether you're raising capital or not, or you're just looking at reviewing your strategy, the financial model is the starting place for us, because we're able to understand the business model in a very good detail. But most importantly as well, because we know that almost 100% of SMEs that come to us either need capital now or will need it down the road, right? And the financial model is also is a requirement for all investors. because again, for them, this is the tool they'll look at and decide if this is a viable investment or not, right? Because they are looking and analyzing your cash flows. So if it's a debt investor, they are going to base on those cash flows to determine if you are indeed able to pay back their money with a return. If they're equity investors, they're looking at those cash flows to see, okay, how much money do you actually need to survive as a business over a certain period of time? That information is going to be got from the financial model. But also, how do they structure the investment? You know, that question is going to be answered if they have a good look at the financial model. And then sometimes for an equity investment, it is also to look at the valuation. And the financial model is a very important tool in valuing the business. So you know, financial modeling for us is key, and sets a foundation for us to then go look at other things like the team, the strategy, and the marketing plan. Yeah.
Thanks for that. Now, as you know, we are living in unprecedented times with COVID-19. What, in your opinion, do you think is the future of the SME space, whether it's in Kampala or just based on your experience? What do you see the future looking like?
Yeah. So I think, you know, on there, what I didn't mention is that I also sit on the investor side through Finca Ventures, where I sit on the board. And I think for us, you know, the challenge already is that for you to due diligence, normally there's a site visit, right, that you have to conduct before you make an investment. And now with limitations around travel, and us being more concerned about, you know, the safety of people traveling, we definitely expect that there's going to be a change in the way we analyze investments that doesn't actually require us to physically visit the company. And one of those ways is I think, and it's already happening, that there's going to be an increasing reliance on advisors like InVhestia and ourselves, right? So for an investor based in the US, if an advisor brings a deal to them, then they're able to trust it more, right? If a company approaches them directly, they are more likely going to refer them to an advisor, because if that advisor is probably more likely able to visit, right? If they are locally based. And so as an investor, I may rely on them more, right? So we are going to see an increasing role for advisors in our SME space, especially on the fundraising side. But also generally, again, if I'm not able to visit, I'm going to be judging the investment on the documents that are presented, right? So I'm going to be looking at the financial model. I'm going to be looking at the pitch deck, the two-pager, without having an opportunity to physically interact with the entrepreneur. What that means is that there's definitely a higher standard on the kind of documents you present. So if it's a financial model, you know, there's a higher standard. If it's a pitch deck, there's a higher standard. And that has been a challenge for a lot of entrepreneurs, especially locally. It's now a bigger challenge. Again, I think there's a lot of support out there from advisors. I think entrepreneurs just need to make more use of those advisors, because they already know like what a good pitch deck looks like, what a good financial model looks like from the investor's perspective. So I think they just need to make use of that help. And then I think lastly is going to also be there's likely to be a higher demand for value, right? And value in terms of, you know, if you want if you want $1 million in capital, how much have you managed historically? Because previously, I mean, it's been easy to raise some money with a couple of, you know, with a nice pitch deck, a nice financial model, and very low traction. But that's because I could come and visit the business, interact with the customers very widely, right? More in person. And so I'm likely to make, you know, and make a judgment based on that. if I'm automating my, my appraisal and there's less, physical interaction, or, I'm relying on other third parties, then I have to demand basically more value and become more stringent when I'm doing those appraisals. So I think SMEs just have to, become smarter, get their staff more, become more orderly in order to attract capital. And also, business is changing, business models are changing. So, business is not going to be the same. So right now, I think what we are focused on even for our clients is to see, to look at their different business models, see what is changing, what no longer makes sense, right? Technology is definitely taking a key role. So looking at what to automate, the way we interact with customers has changed. So, a lot of shifts are happening, and technology is definitely taking a key role. Historically, investors and advisors are known to be the least innovative, unfortunately. While we push for innovation, we are usually the least innovative. So I think we're also in a situation where that is no longer an option. We have to be more innovative and look at how we interact with SMEs more remotely. And I think you guys at InVhestia already, started that quite a while ago with the online trainings, which again, I think I've been a client for that. So yeah, I think COVID is definitely causing a lot of shifts that we have to be keen on.
Great. I was mentioning before that FAST is the methodology that we use for our financial modeling, and it's an acronym, and the F stands for flexibility. So it's good to hear that you're also talking about how businesses should also be flexible in the same way models should be flexible. And also maybe I can ask what advice do you then have? I think you shared some of it for entrepreneurs going forward, but what has struck you maybe even in your professional capacity on your career path? What would you advise the students who are listening to this? What's a piece of wisdom that you would leave with them, whether it's related to COVID or otherwise?
Yeah, I think for now, again, flexibility, that stretches from business to personal level. If you're an accountant, that opportunity may no longer be the most viable, right? Or it may mean that you need to become, again, a more flexible accountant that is able to work in a different environment. So I think flexibility is very key. But I think more generally at career level, for me, the advice I would give is obviously make sure you have passion for what you're doing, right? Because then it's that passion that pushes you to make sure you're gaining the competences that you need, you're putting in the work that is required. Because I think building a career requires hard work. It requires certain inputs. And so if you're not really passionate about what you're doing or even the organization you're working for, then those things are more difficult for you, and your success is usually limited. So if you look at the risks I've taken, right? If I didn't have the passion, some of those risks I would have never taken to build my career. But I took them with courage and yeah, I think I'm on the right path because of that passion that drives me every day.
And I think that also holds for entrepreneurs as well. The passion is very important. You've now opened the door into your path. So maybe tell us, what did you study in the university, or what did you think you wanted to be when you were in the university?
Yeah, so I joined university with the goal of becoming an insurer. I was, I was interested in doing microinsurance, particularly for farmers. So I did actuarial science, applied and was admitted to do actuarial science in the university. And then year one was very all mathematical, right? It was all about algebra. Actually, remember the first hypothesis or theory I was introduced to was prove that 0 is not equal to 0. And so year one was mathematics, year two, half of it was also mathematics. So there was nothing insurance in the curriculum yet. I mean, there was a bit of introduction, but I expected like from year one to go into like, the bolts and nuts of microinsurance and generally the industry of insurance, but we spent more time on mathematics, which discouraged me a bit. So, and around the same time, and I'll be talking about the book later, but there's a book I read that sort of introduced me to the idea of social entrepreneurship and business that is driven by, social impact. So long story short, while I was at university, we started a hub to support entrepreneurs, at the university. That got me busy. So being busy and being bored in class, I decided to quit actuarial science to focus on the business hub. And then 1 year later, I joined the business school to study business administration. Because then interacting with entrepreneurs, I then sort of gained interest and passion in finance, generally how to get SMEs capitalized and financed. So that's how I ended up doing a business administration in finance. And again, because of passion, I went on to do my CFA, which I completed in 3 years.
Yeah, so it sounds like you are driven by your passion for SMEs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, okay. That's why I'm here, because the work we do is really hard. SMEs are very, I'm sure you guys know, right? You take several months trying to get data to build a financial model. You're working with an entrepreneur that, maybe is not interested in numbers yet, but they want the money, right? They want the money, but then numbers are boring for them. So it's really hard work, Otherwise, I would have moved on to, say, do corporate finance in a big corporate firm. So really, it goes back to passion. Yeah.
Agreed. I will be asking you your last question. So I encourage the participants who are here now, if there is any question you have, please feel free to put it in the chat box, or you can use the raise hand function, and then we'll be coming to the Q&A session shortly after this question. So you have mentioned this book that you read that shifted things around for you. I intended to ask which book has impacted you, and would you maybe advise us to read it, or why it also impacted you so greatly?
So the book is called Banker to the Poor. I think it was published in '98, and it's mostly profiling Muhammad Yunus and the story of Grameen Bank, and basically how it's introduced the idea of microcredit, and then how that transformed millions of people out of poverty. From the business perspective, right? Mohammed was talking about how you get the ideas of capitalism and use them to transform and solve the most pressing challenges that you face in any community or in any society. And so for me, that book, opened me up to the world of entrepreneurship, and a specific type of entrepreneurship that looks at good business, right? And making sure that businesses are mission driven and actually solving our greatest challenges. So yeah, that book was key to sort of to helping me build the foundation of the career and sort of where I am today. The things I'm interested in, it all came from that book. And interestingly, my co-founders, or some of my colleagues, also went on read it, and it's had the same impact. So it's really a beautiful story if you can read it. Yeah.
Great. That is the end of our difficult questions for you. But if you have any questions at this time and you're attending the webinar, please, you can put them in the chat box. You can also raise your hand function. If you are unable to find those and it's a burning one, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask the question. We'll give a few minutes for people to ask their questions. In the meantime, we can give a bit of information about the competition. So all you need to do is go to our learning platform, which is learn.invhestia.com, and you will be able to register and go through a free course on there. If you continue to attend these webinars, there will be an opportunity for you to also have access to the paid courses, whether it is corporate finance or the project finance course that we have on there. So I would encourage you to keep coming, to keep participating, and then you will be able to reap the benefits. I also should mention that as a result of our partnership with the FAST Standard Organization, the top students will be able to sit for their FAST certification test, which makes you a certified financial modeler. And I think that's a good opportunity for you to take advantage of. Ivan, it seems like you gave people perfect information. There doesn't seem to be anyone who has a question to ask. Please, if you have any questions, whether it's about the competition, Ivan's journey, whether it may be about Shona and the work that they do, please do go ahead and put them in the chat box. And we can see. Ivan, do you work with any Kenyan businesses at Shona?
Yeah, we've worked with a couple, slightly over 10 businesses, yeah, in Kenya. In different sectors, we've worked with, businesses in, focused on rural distribution. We've done solar, home solar systems. We've also done worked with a company manufacturing fertilizer. Yeah, and a number of others, fintech, couple of others. Yeah.
Do you find that there's a big difference between working with entrepreneurs across different East African countries?
Yeah, very, very different. Yeah, in Kenya, I mean, things are a bit faster, a bit more aggressive. So that is one extreme, and then on the other extreme, I think Uganda is sort of in the middle there. When we started, we worked with a couple of businesses in Tanzania. So Tanzania was on the other extreme. But yeah, things a little different, mostly in terms of the pace of things, the level of aggressiveness, and yeah, the way you interact with entrepreneurs across different countries actually varies. We realized. But of course, Kenya has a more developed ecosystem also. So, you have more advanced, more sophisticated entrepreneurs, I would say, in Kenya.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Still no questions, it appears. So what would be your parting shot then for us, Ivan?
Yeah, I mean, again, financial modeling is a very unique skill. Unique because there are not so many people. Honestly, we had to, I didn't mention that the first analysts we had to hire them from Kenya to come and they had to move here to Uganda. We had to hire InVhestia to train them. So this is a rare skill. I mean, some accountants think they are able to do financial modeling, but usually what you get is not what you expect. So I think, obviously thanks to InVhestia for doing such a great job. Yeah, I would just encourage the students or whoever is involved in the competition to take it more serious. I think it can propel you both career-wise, but also in many other ways, especially for entrepreneurs. If you are able to understand a financial model by yourself, that puts you ahead. There's a time we built a financial model for an entrepreneur, and then when he met the investor asked a couple of questions. And it was like, you know what, Ivan built this financial model. I think we need it. So yeah.
Great. Incidentally, I think your parting shot has opened the floodgates of questions. So we have one from David who is asking, and it's a good thing you brought up accountants. Is CPA a prerequisite in learning financial modeling?
I didn't have CPA at all. I actually did this before I did my CFA. So not at all. Yeah.
Yeah. And I can chip in there to say, as long as you have the interest, I think you will be able to. What we typically say for our online class, all you need is some Excel knowledge and some prerequisite understanding of finance, but I don't believe you have to be CPA certified. Another question that has been asked specifically for you is, will softwares kill financial modeling?
I don't think so. Again, I think beyond Excel, there's also a bit of judgment, human judgment. And that is what some of these skills help you with, right? Is to increase your human judgment, because that is what I feel like software and machines can try to achieve, but they will never achieve 100%. So I think whatever you do now is to try and make sure, even when for accountants, even when there's QuickBooks, who does the interpretation, right? And yeah, because I think at the end of the day, is putting the numbers plus the qualitative facts to make that final decision. And software has limitations in that sense, from my experience. Yeah.
Excellent. And then there's another one. In your opinion, does a background in finance make it easier to build and interpret financial models?
From my experience, obviously, knowledge, right? If you have a good understanding of the financial statements and how movements happen on these statements, it's obviously easier. But I don't think it's rocket science. That would be my response. It makes it easier, but I've seen engineers who have no idea about this eventually make it and become even better modelers. So again, passion and commitment, I think.
Excellent. And then the last question I believe I will address. Someone says, sorry, I came in late. Was the competition date stated? You are most welcome. And the competition will be running from the 26th to the 30th of October. So that is when the case will be released. But in the meantime, what we're carrying out is the training sessions and these webinar information sessions as well, so that you may understand the impact of financial modeling in the real world. So please note that from 26th October to 30th October is when you will be able to submit your own financial model based on the case that we will provide. But I'd also encourage you to follow us on LinkedIn, to follow our Twitter, and our handles are at InVhestia, and for LinkedIn at InVhestia Limited. You will also find us on Facebook. We will continue to update you. And even for those of you who managed to register for this, it's also going to be an opportunity for us to send you more information on email. So while the competition may seem far, there's quite a bit of training that you can take advantage of between now and the time that you submit your model. And it appears we are done with the questions. And since Ivan, you had already given us your parting shot, mine is just to thank you very much for sparing some time to come and speak through this webinar series, to share your knowledge with the students, as well as incidentally, we found that there are practitioners as well, non-university students who are finding this material very helpful. And so we want to thank you very much for sharing your time with us.
Thanks a lot for having me as well.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. So we have come to the end of the webinar, and we thank you for attending. As we will do every week, for those of you who maybe came late, we will post the recording of this webinar on our YouTube page. So please also look out for that. Then you can get all the wisdom that was shared, and we will continue to update you on the important dates. As I mentioned, the more you participate, then you also have opportunity to take advantage of our paid courses for absolutely free. So thank you all for joining us, and I wish you a good evening.